my name is Nathan Sawaya, and I'm an artist. And I, about 10 years ago, chose a new medium to use to create my art, and that was Lego bricks. I had sculpted out of a more traditional media over the years. I'd done some clay, I'd done some wire, and one day I thought, well, why don't I do some sculptures out of candy? And I did a series of sculptures using little bits of candy to create larger forms. I did a larger than life-size, anatomically correct human heart using just little Necco conversation hearts. And what happened is I realized, I really enjoyed that additive sculpture of taking little bits to create these larger sculptures. And I thought about what I had played with in my childhood, and one of those things was Lego bricks, this toy from my youth. So I dug out all this Lego out of the closet and started creating these large-scale sculptures just in my apartment in New York City, and it got a very strong reaction. And I realized there's really something to this, so I started doing more and more work, and about 4 years ago now, I put together a museum exhibit of my artwork. It was essentially just my body of work that I'd created over a few years. And that is what's become the Art of the Brick, which is now 3 touring shows that's crisscrossing North America. And it's been a lot of fun for me. And so what you see here is it's a bit of an eclectic mix. There's some pieces that are really about my emotion. There are some pieces that are really just representational pieces, like the skateboard or the large pencil. And then there's some pieces that are just for fun, like a giant dinosaur skeleton. And so there's no real perfect theme in this exhibit other than it's just all a lot of fun. And I think the piece called Pencil Fun over in this gallery over here that has a large pencil writing out the word fun kind of sums up. One of the things about my titles is they're pretty simple. This is called Circle, Triangle, Square. And part of that is because I want to give the audience member a role in the interpretation. So I'll give it a simple title like Yellow so that you as a viewer can look at it and I'm not influencing your interpretation too much. But I will say that Yellow, I was going through some very strong emotions at the time, and I think it displays what I was feeling fairly well. Background on some other pieces. There's another piece in this gallery behind us where it's a large musical note, but the base of the musical note is a human face. And that was inspired by a friend of mine. I saw her singing up on stage, and she literally just became the music. And it just clicked in my head, and I started working that night on the piece. Here called Pointing, which is a human hand and arm. There was in that same vein, I did a human hand that's kind of like this. This wasn't a total catastrophe, but part of my process is that it takes a while to get these things built, weeks. And so in this particular sculpture, I got to about this section here, and I realized the proportions were completely off. I'd screwed it all up, but I'd already glued it together, and so I literally had to chisel away days' worth of work. And as you can imagine, it's kind of heart-wrenching to have to do that, knowing that, wow, that's days just gone. So that was a catastrophe. We've also had a sculpture that was tackled in a museum once, which always is exciting. And I will glue each individual brick as I go, mainly to make sure that they travel well. The Lego will stay together just fine, but the glue is to make sure that when I'm shipping it, they arrive in one piece. I found some museums are grumpy when they open up a box and it's just a bunch of loose Lego and a sign that says some assembly required or something. So I try and glue everything together, and that is probably one of the more labor-intensive parts of the process because, of course, it slows things down quite a bit. Have I ever sold any of my Lego? Well, actually, that's how I make my living. I get commissioned to do artwork from around the world. I get commissions all the time, and that's really how I do make my living, is I sell my artwork. In fact, I'll be having a new gallery show that's coming up in March in New York City, where I'll be selling a brand new wave of work. But yes, people email me every day with requests for artwork, and that's what I do. Go ahead.